Hello students, yesterday we stopped at atomic structure at the topic cathode ray discharge tube by J.J. Thomson, in which we concluded that when cathode ray discharge tube was modified with applying electric field and magnetic field perpendicular to each other, how the deflections behave, how the electron shows deflections in the presence of electric field, in the presence of magnetic field, and when both the fields are exactly having the same strength, right. So, by maintaining the strength of the magnetic field and electric field exactly balanced and by accurately calculating the measurements, we will get by this experiment the charge to mass ratio of an electron. This is the charge of the electron and this is the mass of the electron. How you got that value experimentally is, in this yesterday's experiment we have seen how electron shows deflections in the presence of electric field, in the presence of magnetic field, and when the fields are exactly the same strength, right. So, by maintaining the field strengths of magnetic and electric field accurately and taking quantitative measurements experimentally, you got some value, and that value is called as charge to mass ratio of electron, which is 1.75 into 10 power 11. Charge is in coulombs and mass is in kgs, right. So, this is the experimental value you got by this modified cathode ray discharge tube experiment, right. By using this value and by using the Millikan's experiment for charge of the electron, only the charge of the electron. Millikan has performed an experiment for knowing the charge of the electron, and by that experiment you got the value of charge of the electron, which is minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. Charge will be only in coulombs. As the electron has negative charge, you got the value as minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. So, right. So, now you got, till now what we have seen is there is one subatomic particle called as electron, which is present, which is a constituent part of each and every atom, and it is independent of the nature of the material, it is independent of the nature of the surroundings also. Whatever gas environment is there inside the tube, even that gas or that environment does not define the electron behavior. It is independent of the behavior of the gas inside the tube, it is independent of the type of the material used in electrodes, right. Therefore, its own charge to mass ratio is this, its own charge is this. So, what you have to know now is, by using these values you will determine the mass of the electron. Same way, simple, charge to mass value you know, how much is this? 1.75 into 10 power 11 coulombs per kgs, and you also know charge of the electron. What is the charge of the electron? Minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. If you substitute these values correctly, what you get is mass of the electron, which is nothing but 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kgs, right. 10 power 11 comes here, when it goes up minus 19 minus 11 it will be 30, and as they are not exactly same, the difference will be 0.9. Therefore, 0.9 becomes 9.1 into 10 power minus 31. So, this is the mass of the electron value you got by the same cathode ray discharge tube by J.J. Thomson. Now, till now we have seen the discovery of electron, its charge to mass ratio, its charge value, and by using both you got the mass of the electron. Coming to the discovery of proton. Proton was also discovered by using the same concept of cathode ray discharge tube, but modifying it a little bit. What type of modification? We don't need to know that. But what you have to know is cathode ray discharge tube is modified to a different type, and the rays which were originating in CRT tube were called as cathode rays, right? As it is modified, from which electrode they are originating to which electrode they are migrating is not necessary, but what is important for us is in cathode ray discharge tube for electron, the rays which were originating were called as cathode rays, but here the rays which are originating are called as canal rays. Unlike electron, the rays here are not cathode rays, it is canal rays, right? And by the same concept of electric field, magnetic field, balancing their strength of electric and magnetic field, you got to know that the subatomic particle which is present in any atom which is a constituent part is called as proton, and its charge is positive to that of electron. What was the charge of electron? We have seen minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulombs. The same goes for proton, and its charge will be plus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. Why you are getting the same charge even for proton is the behavior of the electron in cathode ray discharge tube. What is the behavior of electron in cathode ray discharge tube? The same is the behavior of proton in canal rays, but it's exactly the opposite, right? Exactly opposite will be the behavior of proton in this modified CRT tubes. Therefore, if the charge for electron was minus, the charge for proton will be plus, value will be same for both, right? Mass will be different because proton will be having different size and shape, right? But charge for proton and electron are exactly same, having opposite signs, right? And the behavior of electron and proton is also opposite to each other. We have seen that electron's behavior was independent to the nature of the electrode, and electron's behavior was independent to the nature of the environment present inside the tube. But for proton's behavior depends on nature of gas present inside, because inside this tube whatever gases are present, by carrying out the experiment, if you start the experiment, the voltage which you give will make the gas get converted into gas ions. Gas ions, suppose one of the gas we have in, suppose for example inside the tube one of the gas is nitrogen gas. The moment you start the experiment, the gas molecule becomes gas ion, which will be of course positively charged. So now as the proton is having positive charge and the gas ions which are present inside the tube is also having positive charge, they both are having the same sign, so they repel with each other. So is it influencing the nature of proton or not? Yes. Therefore electrons was not dependent on the nature of the gas, but proton depends on the nature of the gas present inside the tube. That is one difference between electron's behavior and proton's behavior. Second difference between electron behavior and proton behavior is electron was also independent of the nature of the electrode or the material you were using, whether for cathode or anode. Whatever material you are using for cathode or anode is independent or doesn't influence the electron's behavior. But here whatever material you use for electrode, be it cathode or anode, decides the quantity of protons or the speed of the protons coming out from the electrodes. Depends on electrode material. Though they are having same charges, same values, but still electron was independent to the nature of the electrode material and nature of the gas inside the tube. whereas proton depends on nature of the gas and also depends on electrode material. So, till now we have seen the discovery of electron, its behavior and confirmation or verification by carrying out the experiment. Same goes for even proton, its discovery, its experimental proof in a modified CRT tube, its behavior which was different from electron. Now coming to the discovery of neutron. Neutron is also one of the subatomic particle which does not have any charge. It is neutral in nature. How was that discovered? Neutron was discovered by Chadwick. When he carried out an experiment by passing, pause sir, pause, thoda back. Neutron was discovered by Chadwick when he has done an experiment in which he bombarded a sheet of beryllium. Beryllium foil was taken. To that sheet of beryllium he bombarded alpha rays. Alpha rays are positive in nature. That rays were bombardment means it strikes with very high speed. So when that happens, the rays which came out was found out to be neutral in nature, and that are the subatomic particles called as neutrons. Which experiment it was? A beryllium sheet or a foil was taken, to that alpha rays was bombarded, and the rays which arose from that bombardment were found to be neutral in nature. Therefore, that subatomic particles, till now we have seen rays emitted having negative nature for electron, rays emitted having positive nature for proton. In that case, when the rays emitted were neutral in nature, they found out that this is also one of the subatomic particle which is neutral in nature, and they named it as neutrons, right? Till now we have seen the discoveries of electrons, protons and neutrons. If you know all these three, you have to compare and know the difference between their nature, their charges and their mass, right? Okay. So till now we have seen the discoveries of subatomic particles, all the three, proton, neutron and electron. And now the next question comes is, if the atom has subatomic particles called as proton, neutrons and electrons, then how are they placed inside the atom? How are they working with each other or coordinating with each other? If they are present inside the same atom, they must have some interaction with each other, and they must have some specific place to be inside the atom. So, right. So, now the next question for us is, how the atom is arranged inside, what are the models? Different models were proposed by different scientists, but two of the famous ones are J.J. Thomson's model and Rutherford's model. The first model which we are going to see is J.J. Thomson's model, which is quite simple. What J.J. Thomson proposed is, atom has the same arrangement inside it, just like a watermelon. How watermelon has inside it the arrangement, the same arrangement you will find in every atom. According to him, if this is the atom, the total white matter which is present inside is the mass of the atom, which is uniformly distributed inside its boundary, right? This is the boundary of the atom, and inside this boundary the total mass of the atom is uniformly distributed inside it. Uniformly distributed inside it, and what black dots you are able to see are nothing but electrons which are randomly embedded inside the atom. Can you find any fixed type of arrangement in these black dots? No, there is no fixed type of arrangement. According to J.J. Thomson, he told that electrons are just like that, randomly here and there embedded inside the matter of the atom, inside the mass of the atom. mass is uniformly arranged and electrons are randomly arranged inside that mass of the atom. So, right now as we already know that electrons are having negatively charged and the remaining matter which are uniformly arranged inside the atom is having positive charge, and therefore according to this model electrical neutrality was correctly explained. He is not disturbing the electrical neutrality of the atom, he is maintaining the electrical neutrality by saying that the positive matter of the atom, which is nothing but protons and neutrons together having positive matter, is uniformly arranged, and inside them the black dots which you are able to see is electrons, the remaining white matter is protons plus neutrons. So, electrical neutrality is still well maintained by J.J. Thomson. Electrical neutrality is maintained in this model. But what is the drawback for this J.J. Thomson's model is quite simple to understand. Just by looking at the diagram, you can imagine this to be an inside view of a watermelon in which the red matter is nothing but protons and neutrons which are uniformly arranged, and the black beans or the seeds which you can see inside the watermelon are nothing but electrons, right. So, positive charge and negative charge are balanced here, and therefore, it is very easy to understand. But the drawback of this model is whatever results he gave were not in line with the experiments followed by J.J. Thomson. After J.J. Thomson also many models and many theories were proposed to explain the atomic arrangement which was not going in line with J.J. Thomson. Not consistent. With later experiments. After J.J. Thomson, whatever scientist models came was not tallying with J.J. Thomson's old model, right. So, this is the positive point of J.J. Thomson, and this is the limitation or negative point of J.J. Thomson's model. So, after J.J. Thomson, the next model which came about was by Rutherford's model, and as this model, as the other name of this model is watermelon or plum pudding model, because he took the example of these two objects, right. The same goes for Rutherford. Rutherford also performed an experiment to show that atoms arrangement is something else. It is not what J.J. Thomson has told. What is the object he has used is, he has used alpha rays scattering. Scattering of alpha rays was used by Rutherford. Therefore, his experiment is called as alpha rays scattering experiment, right. So, now what is he has carried out an experiment. He has not just proposed a model, he has carried out the experiment, and based on the results he proposed that unlike J.J. Thomson, the arrangement of atoms is something else. What is that? Let us first look at the experiment, how he has performed. He has first taken a source which provides alpha rays, and we already know, I have already told you that alpha rays are positively charged high speed rays which are having positive in nature, right. So, alpha rays are generated from a source which will come out of the source and strikes the lead plate. The moment it strikes the lead plate, its speed is further more accelerated, right. So, coming out of the lead plate, it goes straight and strikes to the gold foil which is enclosed in a kind of boundary. in a kind of boundary which is enclosing the gold foil, and that boundary is coated inside with a phosphorescent or fluorescent material. This is the arrangement of this model. The moment alpha rays comes out of the source, it strikes the lead plate, its speed is accelerated and it goes directly and hits the gold foil, and when alpha rays hits the gold foil, the same alpha rays comes out, mostly 99% of the alpha rays which were striking the gold foil comes out exactly in the straight angle of 180 degrees without any deviations, and it strikes in the center of whatever boundary you have taken. Very few alpha rays are showing a deviation of some angle of 30 to 40 degrees. Very few alpha rays were deviating by an angle of 30 to 40 degrees from the center of the boundary, and 1 in a million of the alpha rays, if you are taking thousands of alpha rays, out of them only one of the alpha rays is reverting back to the direction from which they came, is reverting back to the direction from which they came, right? Most of the alpha rays are going straight without any deviation by an angle of 180 degrees. Very few of the alpha rays are showing a deviation of 30 to 40 degrees, and out of thousands only 1 or 2 are reverting back or reflecting back, you can say, to the point from which they came, right? This is the results of Rutherford's alpha ray scattering experiment. By seeing that result, he proposed that inside the atom most of the space is empty, and all the positive matter of the atom is constricted or densed in the form of a small dot which is present in the circle. All the matter, all the atom's weight or the mass of the atom is condensed in the form of a small dot which is present in the center of the atom, and that positive matter or the mass of the atom is called as nucleus. The density of the nucleus will be very high, so much so that if suppose the mass of the atom is 10 grams, all that 10 gram is accommodated in such a small dot. Therefore, you can imagine what will be the density of that nucleus. 10 grams of the total mass of the atom is accommodated in that single dot. Therefore, nucleus is nothing but highly densed portion of the atom present in the center, and it is called as nucleus. What is left now? Protons and neutrons together make nucleus. What is left is electrons, which is at the boundary, revolving around nucleus by some forces of attraction. Electrons are at the corner, nucleus is in the center, the remaining space inside the atom is empty, right? Inside the atom, most of the space is empty. Then what is the mass? Mass is condensed in the center and called as nucleus. Then where are electrons? Electrons are present at the boundary, and nucleus has some forces of attraction on the electrons. Therefore, electron revolves around the nucleus, but not in between, at the boundary, revolving around nucleus. These observations he made not just like that. He made this observation by seeing the results, right? Therefore, if there was empty, most of the space is empty, definitely if alpha rays are, if this is the atom, right, if this is the atom, you told that in the center nucleus is present, the remaining space is empty. If alpha rays are going from here, no one disturbs here, no one disturbs here, no one disturbs, the entire space is empty, and the chances of alpha rays striking in the center is very less. Therefore, the disturbance by this angle is very less, and that is also alpha rays are positive in nature and nucleus is also positive in nature. I told that deviation which you are seeing is also because of the repulsion of positive charges. Therefore, a little deviation. As the alpha rays are approaching near the nucleus, they deviate. If they are not near the nucleus, no one disturbs them and they go exactly in the straight manner of 180 degrees. The chance of alpha rays exactly hitting the center is very less, and therefore, even if they strike the center of the nucleus, they will revert back, and that chances are 1 in 1000. Right? So, according to Rutherford, the arrangement of atom is in this model, and according to J. J. Thomson, the arrangement of atom is in this model. Please copy this, and in the next video we will discuss the other models.